Hello and welcome. This is the next episode of No Answers Yet. Actually, if you haven't noticed, depending on when this is posted, this is an old episode. We are using this as kind of a backup episode in case something happens. So hopefully, if you're watching this right now, then nothing terrible happened.
Yeah.
And like this is mostly just a time constraint issue. But hopefully everybody's okay. Anyway, so that is why we're not talking about anything topical. We're not talking about like anything that happened in the week. Is because who knows how long ago this was recorded. So
True.
just so you know that and that you're aware. And now we'll just go into the episode.
Let's go.
All right. Hello and welcome to the next episode of No Answers Yet. I am Trey.
I'm Kiko Fresh.
Here's Kiko, and then we got English on the knobs. And joining us today again is Erin Mason, our social media manager.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
She's already started.
Oh,
If
boy.
you remember last time she was here, she just...
A long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just have a very talkative personality.
I did not know that. Interesting. Learning a lot about
Wow,
myself.
that's something new we
People
learned today.
actually don't realize how talkative I am. I used to be very shy, so that's why. And you can go.
All right. Let's
Oh,
go
am I
then.
allowed to go?
We're sure?
Go.
Okay.
Oh my!
Here we
She gave me
go.
permission. All right. So thanks for joining us on another great episode. So we have a few topics today we're going to talk about. First up, topic that was given to us by wasn't this Aaron's?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So Aaron's idea for our topic this week is college worth it? Now this is interesting because we actually have four kind of representations of college progress, I guess you could say. So I graduated. Aaron is going to college right now. Kiko didn't go, and
Not yet, at least.
not yet. And then English. What is your status?
Yeah. Tell us
I'm
English.
partial.
Partial.
Yeah, I've done some. I changed my major.
I did that like 5 times.
Took a couple semesters off.
Yeah. So you're kind of like
traveled
a
lot,
kind of
and, yeah.
okay, that makes
So.
sense. So we don't have a dropout.
Beauty
but-
school dropout. Go back to high school. Sorry.
You
Terry go to
complain about
college?
me.
Was
Did
that?
Terry go to college?
Terry did go to
Okay.
college. He went to the Louisville T.
Did he drop out?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did?
He flew out. Oh, you talking about the real Terry? Oh, no, Terry didn't.
He
drop-
said he flew out. First of all, props. That was funny.
You like
Second,
it?
no, actual terrorism.
Oh no, yeah, he did drop out. That's why he's in the NBA.
No, you can like technically drop out because
Nah.
if they snatch you out of college,
Oh
then
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have to keep going to college.
I don't know. He went to college as far as I know. He did. I forget what.
Let's
school
say he
went
dropped
to.
out. So we have a dropout here. So now we have representation for everything. And when you're going back in August
Yes.
for
My
school.
junior year.
Very nice.
Your junior year?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a junior.
I thought you were gonna be a
Wow.
sophomore.
No, I went to Plymouth State for my freshman year,
Oh,
and
okay.
I transferred to Mississippi for sophomore year.
Mississippi.
What is it? Mississippi State or Ole Miss?
No, it's University of Southern Mississippi.
Okay.
Ooh,
No
wow.
one knows it, but it's
Fancy.
actually a very good school. It's one of the-
USM.
Yes, it's one of the only schools in the U.S. actually that is credited in everything for the business school. It's like in the 1%.
Oh, sick.
Impressive.
So yeah. And you're majoring in,
Marketing.
which is why she's
Oh,
doing
be a
this.
social media marketer for corporate Chick-fil-A
Good luck with that, and God bless you.
or corporate Dunkin' Donuts.
Or
Wide range. Okay. So we also have Tyler. Tyler.
Food.
Oh my God. What is your major?
Yeah.
Business administration. It was computer science, but I switched to business.
Okay. Very useful. And what would you major in? If you decided to go?
Public speaking.
Yeah, maybe life coach or something like that. I don't know. What-
I think you're already good at that. I don't think you need to learn
I don't
anything
think
about that.
no.
So here's
Save myself like
the reason.
$40,000.
Right. The reason I say that is
Oh,
because there's a part of me that wishes I never went, because I majored in something fairly useless, communication. Now, get your laughs out, get your yucks out, guys.
Yeah,
Jeez, don't
yeah.
hold back. I'm happy that I went because like I did learn a lot.
I mean, it's an experience too.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you're learning something.
Well, I mean, the experience part, like I feel like high school was better. Like I loved high school, but college was
Yeah.
like I don't know. So I'm glad I went for some reasons, and for other reasons, I'm like, why? Because it's like you going for life coaching. Like you're already great at that kind of thing. So going to college would be a waste. Like I was already kind of a dude who like knew how to talk and understand people and make sure I was understood. Like I was already doing fine with that. So the fact that I went to college, I didn't go for that.
Right.
But that is what I ended up majoring in. So what I ended up doing was I got to college and I majored in theater because I wanted to be an actor.
Good thing you didn't do that.
Yo, Trey's a good guy. He can act.
I know, but I'm just saying that you don't need to go to school for that. You can like make it on Broadway without a degree.
I don't want to go to Broadway, which is my next point.
Okay.
Okay.
Solid.
Before you rudely interrupted.
Thank you.
Well, you know,
So I wanted
tried to-
This is just not working out right now at all.
So I majored in theater for a semester because I realized that I hate theater. It is very different from film acting, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to major in film, study anything. We didn't have anything in my school. I went to Troy University in Troy. Shout out Trojans. Again, just get it out. I majored in theater for one semester because there was nothing else like film or acting related, and there was just that. And so I learned very quickly that I actually hate theater. I don't hate theater. I just don't like theater very much because like it's very different kind of acting. Film acting is very face related. Like it's all about like the
Right.
small nuances of like how people act. Whereas film, they don't really, or I mean theater, they don't really see your face.
No.
Have
They
you
just
ever
see
se-
you like dancing. On
Right,
the
it's
stage
very
and,
much like
yeah.
you're just a kind of like a doll almost. Like they just see the body, they don't see
Yeah.
anything else, and so you act big because you want to be seen.
Right.
So it's very broad acting, which in real life people don't really do that. People are very kind of restrained. They keep kind of in their bubble. If you've ever seen a play afterwards, if you go to meet them, they look completely different than the person you've seen the whole time. Like because you watch somebody for like 3 hours or whatever, and your mind's kind of
Yeah.
auto completed their face because you can't really see. And then when you meet them afterwards, they look completely different because you don't actually, your face doesn't matter in theater.
Yeah.
And the kind of acting that I feel like I'm good at is very, very nuanced, small details in the face. So I sucked at theater. And so I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I changed my major to undeclared. And then the only time in my life I've ever had a teacher come up to me and say, you're really good at this thing. Have you ever thought about doing it for a living or majoring in it? Was when I did public speaking or a speech, which was a requirement. Like we had to
Okay.
take it anyway.
Yeah.
And apparently I was so good at it that my teacher was like, you should major in this. And I was like, okay. Because I just never had anybody.
So then
'cause I was
you s-
always a terrible student.
But you switched to.
So I was undeclared. So I just declared my major as
Okay.
communication, which was the major for speech. And
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, so I'll just do this as a placeholder. And then while I figure out what I want to do with my life. And that was sophomore year of college. And the next thing I knew, I graduated. So that's what happened. I just didn't ever find anything useful. And here I am with this degree that really doesn't hurt me, but does not help me a whole lot. And I have now student loans to thank for it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it's one of those things like I feel like if I had gone for something kind of semi-useful, like business or something like that, where I could, apply that in some way.
in some field. And,
Right. But at the end of the day, like,
yeah.
can't really. And so,
It's like a love-hate relationship you got going on right now,
Yeah.
I think.
yeah. And so it's one of those things, like, and that's why we brought up the topic, is college worth it? I think if you know what you're going for,
You
I
need
think
to go after
I
it.
think so much it's
Yeah.
worth it. Absolutely. It's an incredible experience. You can't get anywhere else.
Mhm.
But if you
If you're
I think-
wishy-washy.
yeah, if you don't really know what
Yeah.
to do, I'm it's now 3 years since I graduated. I still don't know what I want to do. Like
It also depends what you want to do, if it's worth it.
yeah, like I mean, yeah, if you want to go into a trade, there are trade schools that are much more affordable. What? Yes, you can talk.
Like,
Okay, what I was about to say about this, because yes, I'm doing the marketing, but I know with my marketing thing, I know I can't just stop at like a bachelor, so I want to go to grad school and either get my master's in advertising or go for higher education and work for like a college in like their promotions area.
And that's a good point too. I was actually going to mention that. Thank you. Is that like psychology? There are certain majors like that if you major in psychology, you cannot stop at bachelor's because it's basically useless as a bachelor's
Yeah.
degree. It means nothing. So like you have to keep going because as a psychologist, that degree, like a real like master's degree, like means something. And you need a bachelor's to get there. But like by itself, it means nothing. And so like it's one of those like there are some majors if you know you want to do something that you have to dedicate years of your life to, and you have to know that going forward. Because if you go in and just decide, I think I'm done, then why are you going?
It's a waste of time.
Yeah. So
It
if you're
comes out
if
to
you're
be a
going to
waste of time.
college because you want to check it out and see what it's like, don't major in something that you're going to need like 2 steps in, you know, like 2 degrees of school, and try to major in something that's like, it can be generic if you want to, like, but something that's gonna do something for you, like business. That looks good on a resume. Like, I majored in business. I have a bachelor's in business. Like that, like that at least looks good or
It does.
promising. So that, I think, is very important to keep in mind those things. Also, like, when possible, go to a community college for the first couple of years, because prerequisite classes, which are essentially just glorified high school classes, don't pay a bunch of money and get like rack up student loan debt for those things. Like,
I think people go to college now to go party and stuff.
yeah, but you can party in community colleges. Like, just
Exactly.
don't
I
get
mean,
racked up in debt,
So I've been going to community college.
which is smart. Yeah.
Right. It's smart. You save a ton of money.
Mhm.
But the back of my mind, I always think if I've missed out on some of the college experience, the dorm life and
Mhm.
stuff. But I like to have my own personal space.
Yeah.
You're not missing
So,
out on anything.
Yeah, so I don't think it'll be like
I
you have to
love
deal with
campus.
a cruddy roommate and stuff like
Nope.
that. But
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know.
mean, I get that completely. I think the grass is always greener. Absolutely. And I think
But the amount of money it costs to live in said dorm always kept me away from it. So
it really is. I mean, it's a lot. And like at certain schools, you're required to live on campus for the first couple of years.
You are.
Mhm. So like, it's one of
Yeah.
those things, like, if you come in as a junior, I think juniors and seniors aren't required to stay on campus. So like, you've avoided that too. It's a sink. I mean, really, a dorm is a huge gamble. You're living with somebody you don't know, or if you got lucky, somebody you do know. But a lot of times you discover that friend that you liked okay in high school kind of sucks when you're in close quarters with them every single day and you're living in a box.
Yep.
Like, communal showers suck. Like, stuff like that. Like, it's an experience. I'm glad I had it. Like, I lived with shout out to Chris Holmes. He was my roommate for 2 years in college, and like, we were just buddies in high school. We barely really ever talked, and like, we became really close friends in college. And it was a great experience. Right after he left Troy, transferred to a different school, I hated roommates, because from there on, like, I never really had a good one until I moved off campus and lived with Ford. Shout out to Ford. So like, there are so many different reasons why I don't think, if it's prerequisite classes, I don't think you should be taking them in a 4-year school. I don't see the point. And because I went to Troy for 5 years, I was a 5-year senior, and that was why. What are you gonna say?
So I mean, I feel like we should kind of hear from Kiko.
Yeah.
The side, no college at all. I mean,
Like,
what's your real take on it? Like, how have you been doing without any college?
Mm.
I'm surviving. I'm eating.
Yeah,
Paying
I mean, like,
bills, got a house.
I mean, I'd say you're doing pretty well.
yeah,
So,
you're very successful.
guys, stuff
with
and stuff.
with no college and with today's like stigma of college being necessary and people wanting to see that college
Yeah.
degree all
Mhm.
the time, to even considering hiring you.
I
you
mean,
know?
it's nice. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would love to go to college, but at the end of the day, it's just a piece of paper, and it's like what matters is up here and what's in here. And it's like, if you want something in life, you can go get it.
Right, and it's one of those
Yeah.
things, like,
Having a degree is like, okay, I can go work for a major corporation and work for someone else. Okay, that's not what I want to do though. It's like, I want to be my own boss. I want to be my own me. Go do what I love to do, not what someone else tells me what to do. So I'm doing fine so far.
absolutely. And it is one of those things that, like, you really do need to know what you're gonna be doing, because, like, and also don't be embarrassed to call it quits. Like, being a college dropout is not an embarrassing thing. It's not a bad thing.
You're never too old to go back to school.
Yeah,
to get
exactly.
educated.
And so,
We're-
like,
we're constantly
a
learning.
dropout is not a permanent title.
No, it's
Like, you can go back. Like, it's one of those things, like, if it's not working for you, I think we briefly talked about the sunk cost fallacy, where basically you've put so much into something that it's too far gone, you're too far invested to
Yeah.
give it up, even though you're not getting anything out of it anymore. Don't be afraid to do that with college. Like, if you go for your freshman year and you go, man, I hate this, and I have a really good job offer to do this other thing that's going to pay me a ton of money right now, like, do it. Like, do it.
Take online school too.
Yeah, you can do that.
Oh,
Like,
that's
there's so
another
many
thing too,
different
yeah.
alternatives. Like, don't feel like, oh, I'm, everybody else went to college, I have to go to college. Like, it's not.
Again, it's for the experience. I swear, like, a lot of people go to college for the experience, to to build relationships, to party.
Well, I always
you
said
know,
too, like school, like honestly, college is about 70% networking. It's about the people you meet.
Mhm.
Like, rarely is it like, I learned that one thing that like put me above everybody else. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
they're all learning the same things too. Like everybody in your field went to school like you did, and they made whatever. Like it's about networking. It's who you met at school, like who you built a relationship, and who you started that foundation of. Like, oh, that's my buddy. He went to my alma mater. That like that networking is so huge.
Yeah, it
and
is.
that is what school to me was mostly about, was meeting people and like starting that. Because I have so many people from school that I could like reach out to now, and they could reach out to me.
I mean, on that topic, as far as like feeling like you have to continue, like I'm kind of thinking that, like, because I mean, I graduated from high school like 5 years ago now, with changing my major, taking semesters off and stuff. I still don't have my associate's degree, right? But with buying this house, I'm starting to rethink: do I even really need a bachelor's degree?
Right.
Because, like, I'm starting to think more so maybe I'll more go into the real estate business. And with that, you can make some decent money.
Yeah, no, realtors make
because you can buy multiple family houses, and you can rent out each unit.
That's what my
and
grandmother
you can
did.
make some money off of that. There's a lot of expenses to that, some risk and stuff, but it is a good business. Like I mean, my uncle has a degree, but he's been doing the real estate game for a while, and he makes decent money. So I mean, at this point, like I'm starting to kind of think maybe just to finish my associates, just to have that done. If I not finish the bachelor's, I don't know. It's kind of like what I'm starting to think about now.
That makes sense. I mean, and it really is. It's just like cater it to you.
Yeah.
Because college should be a tool as well. Like, and until they change the cost of going to college,
it's ridiculous. How
you
much
need
it
to be
costs.
very forward thinking about what you're doing with it, because don't just go because you think you should.
Right.
Yeah.
Like go because you're going to get something out of it.
Because the next thing you know, you're gonna be $100,000 in debt.
Yeah, which I'm nowhere. Thank God I'm nowhere near that.
But
because
there are a lot of people out there who are though.
I went to a very, very relatively affordable school. Like my debt's not pretty, but it
Yeah.
is definitely something I can pay off in the next less than a decade.
Yeah.
Easily. So it's I'm like very lucky in that regard. But like there are people out there who did the same thing as I did, but they were smarter and they went to a more expensive school and they did the same thing, majored in something that frankly maybe didn't benefit them the most, and now they're $1/10,000,000 in debt.
I have a friend $200,000 in debt
That's insane. That's so much money. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like
for a theater degree.
For a theater degree?
where did you go?
School in New York.
Oh, that's why.
That's why.
We both said it. It's
This
New
community
York.
college thing is nice. I'm debt free as far as college goes. So
Yeah.
Also private.
Yeah.
it's nice. Just pay it off as I go.
And right now, like my payments are like reasonable, like they're doable. And so like right now I am not in a situation where like my life is ruined or really even
Oh, you're stressing
negatively.
like,
like,
how am I
yeah,
gonna? Yeah.
Like I'm not in a bad place right now, but
Yeah, like
Special
on
guests.
that point, like if I were to decide to finish the bachelor's, right, I would have to switch to 4-year school. It's going to be more money.
right. And also
yeah,
like
my thought right there, that extra $30,000 right there,
Go out of state.
is that really worth it to get that extra 2 years of school,
I
or do I
paid
place
price
that
to go to
$30,000
Mississippi,
towards a down payment
and
on a
I like that
house,
he
get
pays
another
for my
house?
community college.
You know,
It's crazy.
so yeah. I mean it is definitely something that you need to keep in mind. And hopefully, it's not the case always that, it's so expensive. Like there are certain countries where it's free.
Yeah, I know.
You just go. So until that day, or until a day where we're even close to that,
Yeah.
be very forward thinking. Be smart about it. Don't
Don't
go
rush
because you
into
feel
it,
like you have
just,
to.
yeah.
Again, yeah, that's another
Take
one.
your
Like
time,
there is a statistic that if you take a year off between high school and college, a lot of people don't end up going back, but it's because usually they find a good job. Like
I definitely think a gap year is worth it.
yeah. I mean, I think that's a smart thing. Like, I mean, there's so many people saying like, well, if I don't go right now, I won't
Right.
go. And it's like,
The
what
sooner
if-
I go, the sooner I can graduate.
right, but it's like, what if you?
why are you rushing?
What if you end up not going because you found a good job that you you would have missed out on otherwise?
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm majored in communication and I'm a store manager in a retail business. Like I'm making good money, but like I didn't need that degree to get that. So
No.
it's like it becomes one of those things. It's like, what are
Now-
you going for?
You might feel like sometimes you might get kind of pressured from your parents though to do it.
Right.
Not to speak bad, Mom. But so after high school, I went into Army National Guard,
Mhm.
and I was I was going to be going at the beginning of the year, so I had time for 1 semester of college. I didn't want to do it at first because I'm not going to be too focused on it because I'm going to be getting ready for basic. My mom convinced me to do it, and it's not really her fault, but my grades were terrible. I just was not focused.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the 4 classes, still working, and trying to prepare myself mentally for basic training. So my grades were terrible. It was kind of a wasted semester. So, like, if I don't know, like, take that time, take that year. Even if it's 1 semester, you can go in mid-semester if you need to. Just take that time to really think it through before you commit to it. So,
and that was another thing that's like I am not at all a good multitasker in small scale and on the bigger scale. So when I was in college, I couldn't work because what I would do is I would work a full shift on my day off from class. And I would get home and have homework and go, well, no, I just worked a lot, so I don't want to work more.
You're exhausted.
I'm done.
You just want to chill.
Yeah, and even though I'm only exhausted physically, I'm not mentally tired.
Right.
I'm still like I'm tired. I've done my work for the day, and I was bad at that. And props to the people who can the people who pay for their own college, who are working like full time to pay for themselves to work as a full-time student. I don't know how you do that.
God bless you, people.
I could barely. The job I ended up settling on was I delivered pizzas occasionally, and like that was a very like chill thing. I was like not very hard at all. And so but I was unable to do both of those things. And so like if I had school that day and I got off and I had an hour between that and work, I was always like, ugh. It's like now I'm very grateful that I'm done with school because like now I'm like working full time. When I get off and I clock out, I'm done. I can go home, And so like that's one thing too, is that like if like know your limits. Don't let if you've committed to a school for a certain semester, like he said, don't start putting all these other pressures on yourself.
Don't rush into it. Think about what you do.
I think it was Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec who once said, don't half-ass a bunch of stuff, whole-ass one thing. Like put all of your effort into one thing. If you know your limit, if you're not able to do that, then don't. Like don't feel like you have to. If you have the opportunity to not have to work during school, which thankfully I had parents who were able to like help me be lazy and not have to work during school. Like if you have that ability, like take it. Like don't put things on you because you feel like you are pressured to or whatever. And now I can focus on work. And that's, again, which brings me back to my original point, is sometimes I feel like if I like what I'm doing right now, I could have just done this when I was 19.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And have had 5 years of experience under my belt.
I know.
Instead of college. So, because I love what I do now. I love it. But yeah. Before we go on too long, we got a couple other topics we can talk about real quick. No? Okay. So we don't have time. Song of the week is going to be It Felt Right by Gilligan Moss. I think it's a good song. They laughed at it.
No.
This is solely Trey's pick.
Well, it's always my pick. He's got Kiko's
Usually.
thoughts. I got Song of the Week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
we
think
can
it's a good
change it
song.
up sometime. We should do that maybe. You
I
can have a
don't-
thought.
I don't
on
have
it?
deep thoughts.
No, you don't? Okay.
But we can try that maybe.
All right, man. What's that?
So It Felt Right by Gilligan Moss. Give
Yeah.
it a try.
Check it
If you
out.
don't like it, that's fine.
It's okay. Trey likes
I
it.
guess.
If Trey likes it, I like it. Because I like Trey.
Oh my god. It's a good day. Thanks for joining us on this episode of No Answers Yet. I am Trey.
I'm Kiko.
We got English on the knobs. Almost got Kiko on the knobs.
I know you do.
We got 2 Kikos in the room, and then we got
Our marketing director.
our marketing director.
Aaron. So me.
So quiet now.
I know I am.
It's awesome.
I'm tired. That's
She's
why.
tired.
So we should get her tired before she comes in. every
Yeah.
day.
Give me a burrito and I'll shut up the whole time.
No, I think we're done. We don't have to
Yeah.
give you anything.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Till next time.